In this video, we're going to learn how to build this dynamic calendar with a to-do list. And how it works is you schedule your list of tasks over here, and once you have completed them, you simply check it off, and it gets crossed out on the calendar. So you see this one, schedule movers. I'm going to check it, and it gets crossed out. And we have highlighted today's date. So if you're ready, let's get to it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create this section over here. That's going to have these three drop downs, one for the year, one for the month, and another one for our start day, whether we want our calendar to start on Sunday or a Monday. And as you see, it changes just like that. Okay, so that's the first thing. So let's jump over to a blank spreadsheet. And I'm going to start mine probably over here, because what I'm going to do in these columns over here, I'm going to create some helper columns. That's going to really make it a lot easier to populate our calendar. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to type in year and month and start day. Okay? And now I'm going to create a drop down. So to do that, I'm going to go to data validation. And I see that my recording screen is cutting this off, so I'll just slide that over there for now. Okay, I'm going to add a rule, and I'm going to do drop down. So the first thing I'm going to do is our year. So I could populate a drop down from a range, but I'm going to keep these spreadsheets nice and clean. So I'm just going to create it here. And all I'm going to do is start typing in the years. And the next option is 2025. Add another one. And I'm going to speed up this video so that you don't get bored. All right, so now we have 10 years in our drop-down list. And I'm going to go down. I don't like these little chips. So I'm going to go down to advanced options. And I'm going to make that just a simple arrow. And click done. And I'm going to do the same thing with a month. I'm going to add a rule. Again, a simple drop-down. We're only going to do 12 months. So again, I will speed this up, but you can type in the full month or just part of the abbreviation of the month, whatever you feel like doing. All right, so now we have all 12 months. I'm going to go down to advanced options again, click the arrow, and click done. All right, same thing for the start date. We already have our data validation rules here, so I'm just going to click add rule. And this is going to be super simple. I'm just going to do Sunday or Monday. And turn these from a chip to an arrow. Done. All right. We have finished our 3 drop downs that'll help us calculate the correct days for our calendar. And I'm just going to do a little bit of formatting here so that it looks a little bit nicer and we can see what we're working with. Going to make that bold. And for now, I think I'll just make this nice soft color right there. Okay. You know what? I don't want to have colors in here, so I'm going to remove that and just leave it there. All right, so now we have our choice of our 10 years, our months starting January down to December, and our start date is Sunday and Monday. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to create some helper columns. So over in our demo calendar, I created these helper column right here, okay? We're going to need to know the month number. We're going to need, obviously, to know the date. We need to have a weekday name reference. And we also need a grid location. And I don't want to confuse you with this right now, but I'm going to get to it in a little bit. So right now, let's focus on these 3 helper cells, okay? So we need month number, date, and weekday name. All right, so I'm going to do month number, date, weekday name. All right, now for the date, if we're going to start with this one, and I'm going to explain to you why we need this month number and the date. So right now, if I want to type in the date, I'm going to start equal, then I'm going to start typing in the date because I need the date function. Now the date function takes a year, a month, and a day. So let's say we're going to reference these 3 cells because we have a year, a month, and a day, right? So for the year, we're going to reference this cell, which is in I6, comma. For the month, we're going to reference the next cell, which is I7, comma. And for the date, we're we'll reference this other cell, which is I8. Now, if I were to hit enter, I know what's going to happen, but I want you to see this. I get an error. Why do I get an error? Okay, it says October is a text and cannot be coerced to a number. Okay, so this word October doesn't fit what needs to be in here. We need a number for that. We need to convert October to a date, to a number, actually. Okay, so that's why we have this month number here. So let me just get rid of this error. And to calculate the month number, all you have to do is type in equals, start typing in month, and here it is. Select that. Now, month needs a date, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to reference this cell with October, and then and then I'm going to do and, the ampersand, in quotation marks, I'm just going to type in 1, okay? It just needs a number here for a month. It's just the way the formula is set up. I could have put any number in here because we only need to know the month number, okay? I could have put in 2, 3, or 4, okay? Or 31, whatever. So I'm going to hit enter, and it gives me, okay, month number. Now I can do the date. So let's go back to that. Equals date. Click on that. The year is this number, comma. The month is this number, comma. And the day, we're just going to type in 1. Okay, because it needs a number. I can't reference this Sunday because we're going to have that same issue. It's a text and it's not a number. So now I'm going to hit enter, and we have a numeric date. All right, now we also need a weekday name because we need to have, those Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc. all throughout the calendar. So let's go back to our helper cell, and it says Tuesday. So here's what we're going to do. This is super simple. Our weekday name is, we're just going to say, it is C7, and I'm hitting enter, and stay with me now because I am going to convert this. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to Format, Number, and I go all the way down to Custom Date and Time, way down here at the bottom. And what I don't need the month, so I'm going to delete it. Now for the day, I want it, it's your choice whether you want it to just be an abbreviation. For this purposes, I'm going to ask for the full name, which is Tuesday, and hit apply. So now that we have these 3 helper cells, the next thing we want to do is we want to create our actual calendar grid. So let's get to it. I'm going to start the calendar grid in column K, row 6. So I'm going to select these 7 columns. Okay, and I'm going to give them a little bit of formatting. And these are going to have our days of the week, the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc., all the way down. So there should be 7. And then for our grid, I'm going to have the dates in this row right below the days of the week. So for instance, let's go back to our thing. So here we have our days of the week, and right below it, we have the date. And then I'm going to leave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, approximately 7 lines to add our tasks. Okay, so I'm going to create this date section up here with another 7 lines down below. So I think it's a total of 8. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. And again, I'm just doing this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, I'll go down. And that looks good. And I'm going to give this a border. So I have a border all around. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all this. I'm going to go to this roller brush, this paint format. Click that. And I'm going to click on the next date grid. And it pasted the formatting. Now, I think I can do this collectively. So let me try this again. Highlight all this. Use the paint roller. Now, if I highlight the rest of the remaining days of the week, there, it does work. Okay, great. Right, so that's good for the first week of our calendar. And some calendars, some months they have, like obviously February is only mostly 4 weeks, but some months can actually have the way that the first of the month starts. It can actually be at least 5 weeks long. So we need a grid that can have at least that many. So this is our first week, and we need to do 4 more probably. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. I think we need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to go down 8. And I'm going to give that a border. And just like I did up here, I'm just going to highlight these cells, go to the paintbrush, paint format, and I'm going to copy that here. Great. Now, I like to just make sure it is actually formatting correctly. So here's what I'm going to do for the next 4. Oh, sorry, the next 5. Highlight that, do the paintbrush, and then do this, and here we go. All right. Now, I'm wondering, I'm going to try this. I think this works. I'm not sure. It might remove the border up here, but let's give it a shot. I'm highlighting the entire week, going to the paintbrush, and then filling it down here. Let's see. Okay, that worked. But now I want to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. And now, same thing. Highlight it all. Do that. Now I'm going to see if I just click it here if it works. Yep, it does work. Okay, so we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Let's do one more just for kicks. And in here. All right, great. We now have our calendar grid. And one more thing is I want to give these days a little bit more room. So first I want to shrink that a little bit. And then I'm going to highlight these 7 columns, and I'm going to select just one of them, and I'm just going to make it a little wider. There, now all of them got wider. Okay, that is our calendar grid ready to go and ready to be filled with the days of the week and the actual dates. So that's the next task. Before we start our next task, I want to get rid of these extra grid lines. It's making me cross-eyed. So all you need to do is go up to this corner over here, select that. It's going to have select everything. And you're going to go to View, Show, and we're going to uncheck grid lines. Okay, that makes it look a little cleaner. Now, yes, we are missing our lines here. So what we can do is simply highlight this and go into our borders again. I'm going to make it a little bit of a softer gray. And I'm just going to do the interior horizontal lines, okay? So I'm just going to do that, all right? And like we did before, we just need to simply paste this format throughout the rest of the calendar. And I'll speed this up so you don't get bored. Okay, that looks a little cleaner. Okay, now on to calculating the days of the weeks. All right. Before we get started, I want to explain how Google Sheets thinks of days of the weeks, okay? Each day of the week in Google Sheets has a number. And this is how it was coded when it was created. So for instance, if I just start randomly typing in numbers through here, and I go all the way down, I want to do more than 7 because I want to show you something. Okay, so I randomly did a series of numbers from 1 down to 13. Now, what I want to do is show you a way that we can convert these numbers into a day of the week. Okay, like I said, Google Sheets has this programmed in there. So all we have to do is type in equal, start typing in text, and we're going to hit tab. All right, now it's asking for a number, and it's asking for the type of format we want. Here's an example. Here's a number 1.23. And if we wanted to convert it to dollars and cents, we would highlight this, or we would create this as the format. And that would return $1.23. So we're going to do something similar to this. So the number we need to change is this number 1, comma, and the format we want it in is going to be a day. So to do that, we're going to do open quotes, DD, end quote, and then hit enter. So this is a Sunday. So 1 in Google Sheets is considered a Sunday. And if I drag this all the way down to number 13, you see it repeats the days of the week. It goes all the way down to Saturday being number 7. And it starts all over again. 8 is a Sunday. And it keeps cycling through all the numbers. So we're going to use this logic to create our days of the week. And here's how we're going to do it. What I'm going to put in this cell right here is a formula that really has two functions nested into it. And I don't want to just throw it in there and then without explaining exactly what we're doing. So we have two functions that we're going to merge into one, and it'll eventually go into this cell here, and then we'll drag it across. Okay, but up here I want to show you what I'm doing first. So I'm going to say if this cell is equal to Sunday, I want to return a 1. If not, which the only other option could be Tuesday, I want to return a 2. Because this Google Sheets says that any Sunday is considered a 1 and any Monday is considered a 2. All right, so then I'm just going to hit enter and it returns a 1 because it is Sunday. Now if we move to Monday, it turns into a 2. All right, so far so good. Are you with me? You haven't turned me off yet, have you? Okay, great. Now let's do the next part of this function. The next thing is, like we did here, I want to know what day of the week this is. Now, we've already done it here. So Sunday is a 1, Monday's a 2. But just for kicks, I'm just going to do it again here. I've got some issues with my formatting on this cell, but we're just going to go ahead. If this number, which is this, K1, sorry, not if. We're going to convert this number to a text. To a text. So we have that cell, and this is the format we want it in. Open quote, DD, because that'll give me the day, close quote, and then hit enter. So now, I was playing around with some formatting earlier. I don't know why it won't delete it, but it is what it is. All right, so this is saying to me, this is a 2, the number 2 is going to be a Monday. All right, now let's just test this out. We go to Sunday, and we have a number 1, and we've converted that to Sunday. So we have the if function, and then we're going to wrap it into a big text function, okay? So that's what we're going to do in this one. So we're going to say equals text, click on this, and then we're going to do the if statement. If this cell is equal to Sunday, show a 1, if not, show a 2. Okay, so that's the if statement, okay? Here's the format we want. We're going to want this in what we did before, 2, 3, 4, 4 Ds, end quote, and hit enter. All right, here's our Sunday. And I want to make sure that this cell reference doesn't switch over to another one. So I have to make this I8 an absolute reference. So I'm just going to add a $sign before the I and a $sign before the 8. That way, as we drag this formula across, it's always going to reference this specific cell. Now we need to go to the next day. And for all the other subsequent days in the week, we need to create a number and then turn it into a text, just like we did here, right? So this is actually a number that we transformed into a text. So you might think, okay, well, we just need to increment this number by 1 all the way down. That sounds easy enough, but I'll show you what will happen if we do that. If I do this equals this cell plus 1, because okay, it's a number, right? We think. And if I hit enter, we get an error. We get this value error. Why? Because Sunday is now a text. So what we did was a number into a text. So if we were to do it this way, which seems okay at first thought, yeah, we could probably do that, but we've already converted to a text, but we need a number first. So it'd be going back to a number, then it's just a mess. So here's how we're going to work around that. We're going to find the difference between this column and this column. Okay, that's 1 column away. And then the difference between K and M is 2 columns, and so forth. K to N is 3 columns. So we're going to use that number to increment our way through in the formula. So let's just do a little quick demonstration here. I'm going to type in equals column and hit it. And then the cell reference is this, and I hit enter, and it's 12. L is column 12, because A is column 1, B 2, C 3, etc. All right? Now, if I go to, let's go to N and type the same thing, column, and hit enter. This is column 14. So the difference between 12 and 14 is 2. All right? Let's go back to our actual column that we want to reference. So here, we're going to do column and hit enter. Okay? So, N, this number, this name of the week, is going to be 3 numbers higher than whatever's here. So if it's a Monday, a 1, 1 plus 3 is going to be 4. If it's a Monday start, then it's a 2, and 2 plus 3 is going to be 5. All right, are you with me? Okay, so let's incorporate that into our formula. So let's start by what we already have, which is text. All right, and then there's an if. This cell is equal to Sunday, return a 1, if not, return a 2. That we already know, okay? And then we're going to format this in the DD format, but not just yet, because right now this is going to return either a 1 or a 2. But we need to increment this number, all right? So if it's a 1 plus 1, then it goes 2. If it's 2 plus 1, it's going to be 3. And then we're going to carry that all the way across. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Plus column. And we're going to reference this current column, which is L. We're just going to give it the cell, L6. All right? Okay, and then minus column. And we're going to do our first cell. We're always going to go back to the first cell because we want to increment from this first cell. So that is, we're going to click into K6. Okay, and just make sure you have that closed parentheses. All right, now we can do the formatting. So comma, open quote, DD, end quote, and then we can hit enter. All right, so now this is Monday. So do you see this formula up here? This is giving us a number. Sunday is 1 or 2, so that's going to be either a 1 or a 2. And we're going to add to that whatever number is returned by the difference of these two columns, okay? So if it's 1 column away, it's going to add it 1. If it's 2 columns away, it's going to add 2 to this number. And then it's going to wrap it all up neatly in a text and give us a day. All right, let's drag this across. Yep, and I see what I did wrong here. You see I'm getting a bunch of Mondays. I didn't make sure that this cell was referenced as an absolute cell. And that's real easy to do. So all I need to do is go up in here into this K6, because K6 is this cell. It's the date, it's the first start date. Okay, and that's easy to do. Just go in here and add a $sign. You can also use an FN function, but I think this is just as easy. Okay, and now I hit enter. Let me just delete these bad ones for now, just to show you that it will work. Okay, here we go, and this is referenced as an absolute cell. And then we're going to slide this down, and there we go. There's our days of the week, Sunday all the way through to Saturday. Now let's check this. Let's do Monday, and yep, starts on Monday, goes all the way through to Sunday. All right, great. That's great. We've done that. Now what's left for the calendar part is getting the actual dates in here correctly. And that is our next task. Okay, before we get to the dates, I think I found a much easier solution than incrementing these numbers by subtracting the difference between 2 columns. So, if this is getting confusing, the incrementing by the distance between these 2 columns, when actually we're just trying to find the number away from this first column, this is one day away, 2 days away, 3, 4, 5, and 6, okay? Do yourselves a favor. Save yourselves the anxiety. This is all we need to do, okay? This is +1. Another one is +2. See up here? This is +3, 4, 5, and finally it is 6, +6. It is 6 days away from this date. So this is getting too confusing because honestly, this is just calculating a very simple number in which to increment this number by. So if this is too confusing, we're really trying to calculate that number. All right, now we can get on to the dates. And now it's time to figure out what dates go into the beginning part of this month. All right. So this is what we're going to do in this lesson. What date goes here? Okay. So once we can calculate what goes here, we can then figure out all the rest of the dates. Okay, so now in order to do that, we're going to use our helper cells. And let me just get rid of this so I can show you can do it from scratch. And off camera, I just did a little bit of some formatting here just so it kind of matches our main calendar that we're working off of. Okay, so that's all I did. Okay, before I go into calculating this formula right here, I want to show you something. Okay, let me just get over here. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to just put some numbers here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, all the way down. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you how Google Sheets works when it comes to dates and times. So this grid, this right here is in grid space 1, okay? This is in the second position of the calendar, okay? It's the first position, second position. This is the third position in the calendar. This is the fourth, and so on, okay? Now let's go back to where it says grid location for the first of the month. Now we've already figured this out. The 1st of October is on a Tuesday, right? And as of my recording, I think we are on the 11th of October, so we already do know that the 1st did fall on a Tuesday. But depending on whether we're starting it on a Sunday or a Monday, where does that first fall? Here's a Tuesday in grid 2, I should say position 2 in our calendar. But if I move it back to a Sunday, Tuesday is now in position 3. So this is what we need to figure out. Where is the 1st of the month falling? What position in our calendar does it fall? And this is how we do it. So we're going to go back over here. It says grid location for the 1st of the month. And we're going to add equal. And now we're going to call upon the weekday formula. So we're just going to start typing weekday. Click on that. Okay. Now I just want to show you what it takes. So I'm going to hit this question mark. And a weekday takes a date and a type. So the date we know. So the date is this reference up here, which is C7. So I'm just going to click on C7. And then hit comma. Okay, now it says type. And I want to show you something over here. I'm going to get over here. Okay. Type 1, which is the default, is a Sunday start. So position 1 is Sunday, and so forth. Position 2 is a Monday. Position 3 is a Tuesday. If we were to select type 2, it's a Monday start. All right, so the first position is a Monday, the second position is a Tuesday, and so on. All right, so let's go back and finish this out. All right, so our weekday is taking a date, and then we're going to type in if, I'm going to hit and click on that, if this cell, if this helper cell, okay, see it's I believe it's I8. So it's I8. If I8 is equal to, quote unquote, Sunday, end quote, right? So if it's equal to Sunday, then it's a type 1. Otherwise, it's a type 2, right? Does that make sense? So if it's a Sunday, we're going to refer to, hold on, let me just hit enter so it does that. Okay, so if it's a Sunday, type 1, it's going to refer to this setup. If it's a Monday, it's going to say, okay, it's a Monday. I want to do this type 2. All right. So I'll just do that down here so you can see it again. Equals weekday. This is just to show you clearly. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, weekday, it's asking for a date. I'm clicking on this. And what type? It needs either 1 or 2. That's why I use that if statement. If it's Sunday, please give me a 1 type. If it's a Monday, give me a 2 type. All right? I just wanted to clarify that up a little bit better. All right. We got that going for us. I'm just going to go back and just say this is a Sunday for continuity's sake. All right. Now, it's saying grid location for the first of the month with a Sunday start is going to be in the third location. And I'm going over here. So Tuesday is in the third location. Great. This is where the first is. Okay, we already know that the first is a Tuesday. And then we know if it's starting on a Sunday, our calendar starts on a Sunday, please put it in the third selection, the third slot. All right. Now, that's all well and good. Let's figure out exactly what date these starts at. Okay, because the first could be on a Sunday. It could be in this first grid. The first can also be all the way over in the last grid. So we need to have this wired or coded to accept whatever the first of the month falls on, whatever day. All right. And again, before we do that, I want to show you what we're doing. We are going to do this. And the formula is this. We're going to take this date, okay, which is the first of the month, minus our grid location. All right, and then hit enter. Now the grid location, we're minusing a 3. It's going to subtract 3 from this date, okay? This gave us September 28th. Now, let me show you something, all right? Maybe I'm going to shrink this so I'm not scrolling over so much, but let's see what I can do. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of room. All right. I just want to shrink this up a little bit just so that we've got a few things on the camera. All right, so according to this formula, we need to subtract wherever slot our start date is, what is the actual date in this first one. That's why we need to subtract the date from the grid location. Now, let me explain something to you. If I were to put the 28th, September 28th here, and then I did the 29th here, the 30th is not the first, it's the 30th. I'm sorry, Tuesday, the third grade is not the first, it's the 30th. All right? Why is that? Well, it is calculated, to my best of my knowledge, like this. We need to adjust it by 1. And I'm going to explain this to you. This is how I understand it. If you were to say, okay, the Sunday, what's one day away from Sunday? Well, it's Monday. What's 2 days away from Sunday? Well, it's Tuesday. Okay? All right? So 1 day away is Sunday, and 2 days away is Tuesday. But how many days are we actually living it through? We're living through a Sunday, a Monday, and a Tuesday. So it's kind of funny or in the way Google does this, but it's the best way I can explain this. So in order to adjust this correctly and get the actual position, what we're going to do in this formula is we're going to simply add 1. And now it's telling us that the 29th should go here, right? And then the 30th, and then the 1st. And that makes sense, right? Because the 1st is a Tuesday. We know that. That's you can't argue that because that's fact. And it's in the third grid, okay? For this when it starts on a Sunday. Okay. Now, let me go over here and I'm just going to delete this. So now you know what we're trying to do. Okay? And we don't really need these numbers up here. So back in here on your top line, your first thing under the word Sunday, you can do, or under this first word, whether it's Sunday or Monday, you can do equals. And again, we'll go through the formula. The date minus the grid location plus 1. And it's giving us September 29, 2024. Okay? Now, just like we did with these days that we had to calculate the distance between them, and to get that, we decided we were just going to just say plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. We're going to do the same thing. Now, I don't need these numbers up here anymore. I just wanted to show you what they were because just to explain what positions are like. Okay, let's move on to this. And all I'm going to do is copy this. I'm going to go up here to the formula bar, select it, Command C, and I'm going to copy it. But I'm not done yet. So up in here, I'm going to put parentheses around that just because I want to explain this to you. All right. So we have that. That's all well and good. And like we did, like we did in the prior lesson, I'm going to simply say +1 for this one, and it's going to be as the 30th. And now for Tuesday, I'm just going to copy what's in Monday, okay? And this will make it a lot easier. So Command-C or Control-C, Command or Control-V. And yes, it's giving me the same thing. So we've got this, right? And now we just change this number. Instead of +1, we'll do +2. And tab over. All right? Command-V to place that formula again. And now we've already done +2, and I'm doing +3. Tab over. Command-V to paste it again. We've done 3, let's do 4. Hit enter. And Command-V. But we've done 4, let's do 5. Tab over, and finally Command-V to paste it again, and we're doing 6. All right. Now my formatting of my borders got a little bit messed up, but that's okay. I'm just going to highlight all this so that you can see this a little bit better. I want to just put it back to the default size so we can look at this a little bit more clearly. All right, so this is fine. This is okay. We've got this. It's got the full date. I don't want the full date. I just want the number. What's the date? The actual date. I don't care about the month. I don't care about the year. So I'm going to highlight all of this, and I'm going to go up to Format, Number, Custom Date and Time way down at the bottom. And all I want, so see, it's already, it defaulted to give me the month and the year. I don't really want that. All I want is the actual day. So there's a couple things I can do. Honestly, the easiest thing to do is if I just want to look for something that just has the day. Okay, so this one. These are just fine. I don't know. Just pick one of them, any kind of the format. Let's just go for this one that just says 5 August. I'm just going to click that. Okay, now I don't need the month, so I'm going to click on that and delete it. I'm also going to delete that little tiny hyphen. And then the day, obviously, you could decide, do you want a leading 0? So if you want it 01 or 02, I don't want a leading 0. So I'm just going to do it regular. All right, then hit apply. All right, now we have all of our dates. And I'm just going to quickly go over here and fix this formatting. Now let's just test this out and see if our dates move when we change the start day. Okay, so let's go over here. We've got a Sunday, and now we're going to go to Monday. And sure enough, look, Monday's the 30th, Tuesday's the 1st, and it's in the correct location. Remember, because Tuesday was over here before. All right, so that's working. Yay. And now we have to do the rest of the month, which is super simple. All we need to do is go down here, and all I do is I hit equal. Then I reference the first cell in this one here with a date 29. Then I add a +7, and then I hit enter. And sure enough, it gave me the 6. And I should be able to drag that formula all out. And it did. Okay? And all I'm going to do is repeat that a few more times. I'm just going to here, reference the week before me, and add a 7. And hit enter. And then I'm just dragging that across. Okay, whoops, one more. And same thing. You get the idea. And we'll just do this real quickly until the end of the month. All right, and we don't need this down here. That was for testing purposes. All right, great. So far, all right, so that's good. We've got our calendar dates. We've got, they're all working out correctly. So let's just, for kicks, let's go back to September. All right, so September, the 1st was a Sunday. And it's in, start date is a Sunday, so it's in the grid 1. Let's try if it's a Monday. And look at this. The Monday gets all the way over here into grid 7. So this is working. Yay. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start creating our dynamic or interactive to-do list. So let's get to that. Now we're ready to start creating this, our due date tracker, or it could be a to-do list tracker or whatever you need to keep track of. But this is what we're going to do in this lesson. We're going to build this out in our own calendar. So let's jump over to that one. Before we go any further though, I don't need this anymore. Do not delete them. I don't need them to be shown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide them. And I'm going to go to click on column A, hold shift, go all the way. It looks like column D is the last one. And then while they're highlighted, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to here which says hide columns A through D. Do not clear them. Do not delete them. Hide them. All right. Now this has cleaned up our calendar a little bit better. And if I need to see that again, I just go up to here where you says can't really see it, but there's a little arrow next to the E. All you have to do is click on that and it opens it right back up. But we're going to shut that back down. Okay. So let's get started with our building. And to keep our formulas consistent, because I am copying exactly what I created in our main calendar, I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to start our calendar or tracker list at G10. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go down to G10. And I know it's 3 columns wide, and I just want to highlight it, and then I'm going to put a border around it so we can focus on it. So I've highlighted it 3 columns wide, and I'm just going to go down, all the way down here, until, now you could obviously change this if you want, but I just want to keep our formulas consistent. So I've highlighted this group, and I'm going to go over here to our borders, and I only want an outline border, and I have it in the dark, in black, and I'm just going to click on this. Okay, good. Now we can focus on what's in here. We can build this out. So for the first line, I'm just going to highlight all these 3 cells because it's G, H, and I columns, and I'm going to merge them together. And I'm in here, I'm going to just type in due date tracker and add a little tiny formatting to that. In the background, like I said, this is all up to whatever preferences you like. Okay, and in here, let's go back to our model calendar. We have description. Well, we have check boxes, and we have description and the due date. So let's do the same thing. Go over here. Wait, I'm not going to format it first. I'm just going to go in here. This is the first column. Second column, I'm just going to type in description. And this last column, or third column, I'm just going to put due, as in what day is it due. And I'm going to add a little bit of formatting to this so it's a little bit more clear. And I think while I'm here, I'm going to add some grid lines just to make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. So I'm going to just highlight all these interior cells. I'm going to go up to my border. I'm going to make this a slightly light gray. So I'm going to go over here to border color, adjust that. This one over here seems to work for me. And then I just want this inner borders done, and I click on that. Good. Works. Let's see. Yep, that looks good. Now, let's get to doing our checkboxes. So I'm going to highlight all of these on the left-hand side, and then I go into Insert, and down here, I'm hitting Checkbox. That's it. And while I'm here, I'm going to give that a little color. It's under the text color, not the border color. And I'll just do this, maybe this blue, this purpley blue thing here. All right, looks good. So now all we have to do is like description. Okay, so pay mortgage. And when's that due? Okay, it might be due on 10/1. Call for, I don't know, movers. That might be 10/3. All right, and I'm just going to fill in some more. Actually, I'm just going to copy and paste so that we're not doing anything. This is not anything complicated. This is just to give us some data in here. Okay, here we go. All right, so that's good. We've got our due dates. We've got our tasks. We have our calendar. So let's put the tasks into our calendar. And before we do that, I want to show you a little concept called filter, because we're going to need to filter through this whole list and match the day, the due date, to the dates in the calendar. But if you're not familiar with the filter function, let's get to it. So down here, I created a list of foods in one column, and then I added next to it what type of food that is. For instance, if it's a grocery list or something, is it fruits, vegetables, poultry, frozen, bakery? You get the idea. So I want to filter through this only if, let's say, I only want to see the vegetables or I only want to see the fruits. So let's quickly have a very quick lesson on the filter function. So right now I'm going to hit equal, filter, click on that. It's asking for a range. So I want to, it's going to arrange, and then it's going to ask me for a condition. So I want to filter through this range, okay, and then hit comma. And what's my condition? Let's say we want to just find the fruit. Only if this range is equal to, quote, fruit, end quote, and hit enter. Oops, my bad. It's going to return an array, and there's not enough room down here to do that. So what I'm going to do is just quickly copy and paste this and move it over to a cell where it's going to have some room down here, okay? So I'm just going to paste this here, and there we go. Sorry, this was quick side note. It's going to return an array, and that means it needs more room down here, and it was going to be blocked by this information. That's why I said it was going to overwrite all this data. We don't need that. I just quickly moved it over here. So going back to my quick lesson is we filtered through this whole list and returned only the items that were equal to fruit. And we have apples, bananas, and watermelon. All right, does that make sense? I hope so. So let's go do that for our task tracker or due date tracker. And in this first cell below our first date, I'm going to say, we're going to write it again, equals, filter, click on it. The range, we want to do this range, go all the way down and go all the way down to the bottom of your to-do list. Okay, don't just stop at the first, at the end of our current list. So we want to go all the way down this range, comma, and our condition is if the due date, select all the entire range. If our due date is equal to, well, what is it equal to? We want it to equal to this date up here, the actual day. So it is currently K7, and then hit enter. Now, it says NA. Why does it say NA? Because it says no matches were found. So we don't like this NA, and a quick way to do that is surround this entire function in an if error function. So let's quickly do that. Oops. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to start typing in if error, and I'm going to do an open parentheses right there. So it's saying if error, so we're going to say we want this to happen, right? Because this we know is working. But if it doesn't happen, just leave a blank spot. Close parentheses. Make sure you close your parentheses. So you see it up here? This is what we want. So again, we're not messing this up. We're just saying if there's nothing on that date, we don't want to get that ugly NA error. All right, and here we go. So now let's take this and drag it across and see what happens. And immediately I'm seeing I did not do something extremely important. If I click over there, do you see it changed my whole reference columns of what I was filtering through? We don't want that. We want it to stay hard-coded, to only go through this whole column and only this column, and then the same thing with this whole column, okay? So what we need to do there is make sure these are absolute referenced cell sections, okay, ranges. And to do that, you click up anywhere in it, and you're supposed to add a $sign between each one of these. And I'm going to show you the long way, so just hit Shift $. So we want definitely the H column, and we definitely want starting in column 12 or cell 12. And the same thing here. $sign before the column and $sign before the row. Now, a faster way is click in there and hit the F4 function. And that will do, oops, I do that all the time. I put a F4 function and it will automatically do it for you. Now, if I were to drag this across, it should automatically fill and not get so wonky. All right, there, now it's working. So let's see, on October 1st, we pay the mortgage. Let's see, October 2nd down here, schedule the movers, yep. October 3rd, back up one, call for movers. Let's see, October 4th, we have signed the lease, and so on. So let's go and highlight all this, the row, copy it, Command-C, Control-C, go down to this next cell down here and paste it. And let's go to the one down below and paste that. And again, and finally, the last one. All right. That looks good, all right? We don't have anything past, let's see, the 22nd. Yes, record video. All right, so we have all of our tasks. This is great. You know what's left to do? We're going to go back here, and now we want the ability so that when we check off a task, it gets crossed out. So let's go to first. Let's pay internet bill on the first. So watch, I'm going to sit pay internet bill, and it gets grayed out and crossed out. And that's what we're going to do next. All right, let's talk about conditional formatting. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it means that in order to change the appearance of something in our spreadsheet, something needs to be true. Okay, so let me explain this. Let's say down here, we have $499, all right? And perhaps this is in a personal budget, and my goal is to save $500. So in order for my spreadsheet to look really cool, I want this to turn a bright green when this number is at least 500, so 500 or more. And if you look at the formula below, up here it says, is this cell, which is H44, greater or equal to 500? No, so it returned a false. But watch this. If I now say 500, let's say I added $1, and now it has come back as true because it is equal, and it's got this nice green formatting and bold numbers. All right, so that's what we're going to do. But with our situation, it's not as cut and dry as saying is something equal or greater than something, okay? We have to go through a few steps in order to return a true statement, because remember, things will only get conditionally formatted if something is true. Hence, it's why it's called a conditional. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to filter through our checkboxes. All right, we're going to filter through our checkboxes, and well, actually, we're going to filter through our descriptions and only return those that have been marked off. Okay, and we're going to use the formula filter, which we've done before. Okay, so we're going to have a list of things, only these items that have been marked true. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a number that we can then determine if it's something is true or false. Like, remember how we just said, if it's 500 and greater, we're going to apply this formatting. So we're going to kind of grab a number. I'm going to use that with a count if formula. All right. And then finally, we're just going to say, make it a true or false. If this count if number is greater than 0, which is true, will become true, then we use the formatting. All right, I hope that makes a little bit of sense, but don't worry because we're going to walk through it right now. All right, to begin with, you are familiar with doing the filter because we did that back here when we filtered through this list based on these dates and we put them in here. All right, so this time we're going to filter through this list if these boxes are checked. Okay, so I want that. I need to know which ones have been checked. So we're going to create another little helper column because this makes it so much easier to write formulas rather than writing all these huge, confusing, nested formulas. So what we're going to do, since we already know how to do filter, so what we're going to do, I'm going to open up our hidden columns since we already have some helper rows here. And let's create a little helper column right here. So we're just going to go equals filter. All right, and it's going to say the range. So we're going to go through this entire range, not just to the last one, but all the way down to the very last end of our list, which is here, comma. All right, and now we need to apply its condition. So what we want to do is if any of these checkboxes, so I'm highlighting all of the checkboxes now, again, from the first all the way down to the bottom, if any of these checkboxes are equal to true, and hit enter. All right, so as you can see, we have pay mortgage, call movers, call mom, and wire rent. We have 4 done, and we've got 4 over here. So it's working. So let's try something else. Let's delete pay mortgage, and you see it got removed. Delete call movers, call mom. So it doesn't matter what you have here. It's going to populate here. So this is going to help us write our formula. Okay? So let's just uncheck a few of these. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we have these 3 things done. So we've done this first one, which is filter through checkboxes using the filter. Done and done. Next thing we're going to do is we need to create a number that we can compare. If it's greater than 1, which means it exists in this list, and then we're going to compare that and use that as our true false. I know that sounds super complicated, but bear with me. All right. So now I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to say equals count if, click on that, and it's going to ask us for our range. So I'm going to go all the way down here, but I'm not going to just do these 4 because this list might go down. So I'm just going to eyeball it. You know, it's probably somewhere down around this way, okay? And so that's it, comma. So what's our criteria? Well, we want to see if any of these are in these dates, okay? So all we have to do for now is just type in whatever this cell is, and this cell is K8. Okay, hit enter. And just ignore the suggested autofill. So, okay, here we go. We've counted how many of these in the list are in here, right? We have call, mom, and wire rent. Don't worry about that there's 2. We're just saying that at least one of these values exists. Okay, so, and then I'll show you how we're going to apply it to the entire thing. But we just are just checking for this one thing, okay? So, yes, we have this one thing. So that's a number. Okay, great. Found a number. So we have a number, all right? Now we're going to compare it to something that'll going to give us a true or false statement. All right, so let's turn this into an if statement so that we can see if it's true or false. So let's do this. If, okay, this number is greater than 0, we're going to return true. If not, we're going to return false. So let's hit enter. Okay, return true. All right, so are you ready to combine all of these? We have our filtered list. We've converted it to a number, meaning that, yes, there is something in this. And then we said if there is a number, because we're checking to see if something's greater than 0. So if it's greater than 0, it's a number. All right. I know it's kind of convoluted, but this is really the only way to get to this kind of conditional formatting. All right, let's go ahead and combine what we've just done here. All right, let me just delete this. But first, let's go to our conditional formatting. So you go up to, well, right now I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight everything in my calendar. All right, everything all the way down to here. And don't worry about this first row. You can include it or not. It doesn't matter. Go to Format, Conditional Formatting. And let me just move my, there we go. I was a little chopped off there. Okay, so we have it applied to this range. And we're going to scroll down here. And we're going to say Custom Formula. Let me just, I'm sorry, my computer is not... recording. Okay, custom formula. There we go. Now, for some reason, Google Sheets always defaults with this ugly green background. Just click on this, hit none. Okay, so custom formula is, I'm going to say equals if, open parentheses, count if, open parentheses, And then we're going to go to this list. Again, go all the way down. Give yourself some room. I should have done this, moved it up a couple of rows, but that's my bad. So I'm going to go just a few more rows down here. Okay. And that is B14 colon B. Let's scroll all the way down. B44. B44. Okay. Now, we're going to need to do, well, hold on. Let me just finish writing this. I don't want to get you confused. Okay, so they're going to say if, okay, so count if B15 to B44, comma, and then just write K8. Remember, because we did that. Oops, K8, close parentheses. Okay, let me just finish writing it, and then you'll see what I'm doing. Is greater than 0, and then we're going to say true or false. Make sure you close out the parentheses and hit enter. Here we have it. Let me see if I can just do this. Copy and paste. And we come out with true, all right? So we got the count if, right? We did this, which is right here. And then we do the true, all right? So this is what we're working on, okay? We have, this is our filtered list, checking against the first assignment in the first day. Okay, so that's what we counted. This is going to return this number 1. Oops, I don't want to get confused here. And then if it's greater than 0, return true. If not, return false. All right, so now what do we want to do? Just move this over a little bit so we can see. Let's, for the first thing, say, all right, we want to strike through that task. So I'm going to hit strike through. So you can already see it's going over here. And let's say I want to italicize it. So it's slanted, and I kind of want to dull the color. So I'm going to say maybe this color. All right. I can still read it, but it's not jumping out at me. All right. And then hit done. Okay, let's check this. All right, let's try sign lease. All right, I made a mistake, and I know exactly what I did, and I'm leaving it in here so that you don't make the same mistake. Let's go back to our conditional formatting, all right? There's one thing I forgot to do, and it is going to be super important. So let me just go back up to here. And I'm just going to, again, highlight all this. I just want to grab the conditional formatting again, okay. And then format, conditional formatting. Here we go. Okay, this is what I want to adjust. So it's applying to this rule. But down here, it's going to make this, I started to type it in before, then I just forgot to do it. See this range? I need to make this absolute. I'm saying to it, only check B14 all the way down to B15. Don't shift it over as the cells are getting shifted over. So that's when we add the dollar signs. So we're going to add dollar signs in there, a dollar sign before the column and row, and again here, dollar sign before the B, dollar sign before the 44. All right, that should help. All right, let's try this again. That is a very common mistake. So don't fret if you get stuck on that. All right, I can already see it's working. Okay, so we did sign lease. Let's just unmark that, and it's fine. Let's just say, let's go through all of these. Okay, so perhaps we, paid our mortgage, and we scheduled movers. And let's see, later on in the week or the month, we wrote our blog post, and we did our car payment. All right, that's awesome. So this is working. The final thing we're going to do with conditional formatting is many times you'll see on calendars when a month doesn't start at the very first top left corner and is actually the previous month. Okay, sometimes this will be like grayed out, like or it'll be a different color. So maybe the background will be like this. All right. And then same thing with the end of the month down here. Now, I didn't mean to include this one. So this is what we're going to do. Let me just remove this. What we're going to do is if whatever's in this top row, if it's in the previous month, we're going to gray out the background. Additionally, down here, anything that's in the next month, we're going to gray out that so that your eyes are really just focusing on the current month, whatever this month is here. Okay, so let's go and do that. And I promise you, my friends, this is a lot easier than the last conditional formatting we did. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to just scroll down here and show you some things of what we're going to do. Basically, what we're going to do is we are going to see this formula up here. We're going to see if the day in that top row is greater than or equal to 25. Now, why 25? Okay. Well, if you think about it, the farthest right that a month can start on, regardless of whether this is a Saturday or Sunday, is over here, right? So you have a 1 here. So if this is a 1, okay, let's see if I can do this here. So if this is a 1, and we have, let's just say 31 days. So let's say 31. I'm counting backwards. I'm going to show you something. All right, 28, 26, and 25. Okay, so this number is 25 when this is a 1 and the previous month has 31 days. All right, suppose the previous month has 30 days. All right, so if this is 30, I'm not going to do it all for you, but you get the idea, and this will end up being 24. Okay, so this number 24, we need to talk about. Okay, well, sorry, it's a 24. So this is the earliest number that can show up here. The very earliest number is a 24. So this is going to be super easy. All right, I'm going to just highlight this row that has our dates in it. I'm going to go to Format, Conditional Formatting. And again, Google likes to, somebody really ought to talk to them about adding this ugly green as a default background. All right, just hit none. Okay, so we've got our range, K7, all the way to Q7, which is right up here. Okay, if it messes up, just make sure you can just put it in there. Okay. And we don't want to say is empty. We're going to have a conditional formatting. Again, this is going to be a lot easier. And we're going to say equals day. Okay. Open brackets. K7. All right. That's the day. K7 is greater than, I'll just say greater than or equal to 25. Greater than or equal to 25. Okay. So that's going to return a true or false. And what are we going to want to do? Well, let's say we just want the background to be slightly gray, just so that it draws our eyes to a different, just so we know, visually know that it is a previous month. And then also in the same thing, we just might italicize the numbers, or maybe we just, I don't know, change it to a different number. Just something simple. All right? Just whatever you feel like doing, whatever feels right to you. Okay, so that's it for this row, and then just hit done. Now, similarly, let me just move this out again. We're going to do almost the opposite for this last row. Now, for this bottom row, we're going to work on this line, okay, or row. This is K39 through Q39. Now, we need to do two things. One, we need to make sure if the number is, let's say, 1 or greater, okay, we're going to condition it, all right? But we got to check something else, because these numbers are also greater than 1, right? And we don't want these formatted. We only want a few numbers formatted. So let's say between 1 and 8, because really, like if this is the first, second, third, fourth, 7 days, the 7th is here, it's really between the numbers 1 and 8 that could possibly show up within the same week as the ending of this current month. So we need to do an and statement. So we're going to go up in here. Let me just get this here and create another rule. well, first of all, let me highlight it because it makes it easier. So I'm highlighting all of this row, and then I'll say add another rule, and it's highlighting that correctly, K39 through Q39. No, I don't want this default green background. All right, I want a custom formula, and that custom formula is going to be an and thing. Okay, so two things have to happen. First thing is the date is greater than 1, and the date has to be less than 8. Okay, those are the only numbers I want to format with. Okay, like I said, if it's over anything over 1, we're going to format all the numbers. So we're going to do equals and open parentheses day, open parentheses again, and that is K39, K39, close parentheses, is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, and I think it's just a comma. And then it's day, open parentheses, K39, close parentheses, is less than or equal to, let's just say 8. It doesn't really matter because it's going to do. All right, I think I just have a close parentheses. That should be it. Okay, that should work. And again, we're going to go down here and we are going to gray out the background. Let's see, I can already see it's working. And what else are we going to do? Let's say the numbers get a different color and maybe they get italicized. All right, and that's it. Hit done. Now it's it. Okay, that is it for this lesson. We have completely finished our interactive and dynamic calendar. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm just going to clean up some things over here just so we can take a look at all of our great work. Hide columns. And that's it. Congratulations. I hope you're still with me. I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please comment down below and please subscribe and like this video as well. If you have any other suggestions or any other requests for spreadsheet tutorials, I love to build spreadsheets. So please comment down below on what you would like to see. Thank you so much for listening and happy spreadsheeting.